All right, awesome. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and share this out to a couple places and wait for a few people to jump in. Um, and then I will definitely give you a proper introduction here. And it is pronounced Marat, right?
That's it.
Okay, awesome. Just want to make
Got it
sure.
right on the money. I've heard it butchered many ways, but that's exactly how it should be pronounced.
Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure because I'm terrible with names. I'm so bad with them. But but yeah, like I said, all right, I've got that shared to a few places, and I'll share some more a little bit. What's up, James? Um, so definitely, like I said, first thing I want to do is, man, welcome you to the Angry Hour, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, tons of people have been, trying to get with me to get someone on here that's been in the business for a while, and you've been here for a minute.
Yeah, 30 plus years.
Yeah, because and like I said, man, thank you so much.
Oh,
Because
my
I
pleasure,
wish
dude.
I wish more people would do more of these videos, both with up and comers and the vets, because everybody's journey is different and everybody's perspective of how they handle the ups and downs. And I know for myself growing up, there was very little information out there, through the '80s, '90s, and even the early 2000s about processes and the struggles that you guys go through. Because a lot of times, as a new artist, sometimes we'll feel like we're going through it by ourselves, and then we hear your stories and your ups and downs and everything, and it definitely, lets us know we're not alone with it.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
but just for everyone that's tuning in right now, go ahead and give us an overview of where you started out, what you were doing when you first got into your career, and things like that. And then I'll have some questions for you for sure.
So mine is a little like serendipitous, I guess, but different journey. So I grew up in LA, and there was a monthly comic convention. And when I was 12 years old, my mom would let me take the bus to the show because I was just obsessed with the comics. And I met a 16-year-old Rob Liefeld. Um,
Wow.
and it was just a bunch of us walking around with our portfolios, sharing, and it was a tiny show. It was a hotel, one small little room. Um, and so me and Rob kind of started to get to know each other through the little local convention scene. And a couple of years later, when Rob was working at DC, he was working on Hawk and Dove. I had just turned 16 and got my driver's license. And him and Jim Valentino were sharing a studio. He invited me to come down to the studio. So I would come down every, couple of months, hang out with those guys. And we really struck up a friendship. And when I graduated high school, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for an assistant. Are you interested?" And it didn't pay very well. He lived about he lived about an hour away, but in LA traffic, that could have been like 2.5, 3 hours.
Right.
So, but I took the job because I was like, it's an opportunity to break in, and this is like 1990. So, um, it is. There was no West Coast, common connections pretty much. So I knew this was my best chance to get my foot in the door, and I took the job. And I worked at a video store as a clerk in the evening. So in the morning, I would drive down to the studio, be Rob's assistant till about 5. At 5, I'd fight traffic, and I'd work as a video clerk till about midnight, 5 days a week. And then,
Right.
um, you know, I progressed with Rob. I started getting some opportunities. Uh, Malibu Comics. Jim Valentino recommended me to design some characters for him, so they hit me up. Uh, what's up, Cameron? I did some fill-in work on X Force that wasn't credited, even though it should be. But every day I got to be on the phone with Bob Harris, who was the X-Men editor, and I'd get to chat with Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and whoever else called the studio, Eric Larson. So it was this amazing opportunity. But and when they went to form Image, Rob walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, I don't know if this is going to be successful or not, but I'll give you percentage of sales. And, if you want to do it, we'll do it, but it doesn't pay anything up front. And, you know, um, I learned a lesson that a lot of guys like don't get. Like, you looking for short money or long term? Because if I said, no, I need something that pays a good page rate, I wouldn't have got a chance to be the first image rookie. So sometimes you have to take a little less upfront, and that gives you visibility and name awareness and opportunity. And you never know. I mean, it could develop into something huge, which it did for me. I mean, I didn't I didn't know if I was gonna, make $1 off of it. And the book wound up selling almost 1 million copies. So, should have negotiated a better percentage. But you know what? At 19, when you get the kind of check that I got,
Yeah.
it's insane. At in your 30s and 40s, you go like, oh, this is nice, like, but it's not like life-changing money. But at 19,
Right.
it is. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my journey to get into comics. So it was different. It was definitely like right place, right time, and just happened to
Yeah.
hit it off with the
And man,
the right person. Because it's funny because there was other artists in that scene who I could have become buddies with,
right.
and we just didn't click the way me and Rob did. And me and Rob didn't click right away either. It took a couple of years before we really kind of found that we're very similar in a lot of ways, and we speak the same like comic language, and we like the same stuff. So that was my journey to break in and get the first big break.
And well, I mean, dude, that's one hell of a roller coaster too, man. I mean, that's a ride right there with the image
Yeah.
starting out. I mean, that's insane.
Well, and again, like we were talking, like, so I start up here. Like, I don't have the slow trajectory that most people do. Like, I start up here. Me and Norm Rappin always laugh because our first store signing for Brigade, we drove up and there was literally like a line of 200 people wrapped around the block. And the first thing me and Norm, because we're both just like guys who've never been published, or tiny little published work,
Right.
um, we're like, oh, we wonder who else is here because we got excited as comic fans. And we pulled up to the back and we were like, saw the store owner and we was like, who else is signing with us? And the owner's like, that's for you guys. So,
Wow.
I started up here, and then, in the early to mid 2000s, I was doing a lot of graphic design stuff because the comic thing wasn't working out the way I had hoped. And then, slowly around 2013, 2014, I started Counterpoint, and it kind of exploded way bigger than anything I could have ever anticipated. So, yeah, like the ups and downs of being a pro is just insane. And, um, especially when you start up high and you think like this will last forever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's I definitely can see that. I mean, I've talked to people in PMs and stuff, in the past, just getting feedback and information. Like people like Don Mateague and Ken Lashley. Before I've asked him questions and stuff, and of course Jim Lee. I've talked to him a few times on his Twitch and things like that. And it's amazing the ups and downs that I've heard from some of these guys, and the crazy stories again, especially with like the way you come through the door. I mean, you guys rolled out with Image. I mean, like rock stars overnight.
oh yeah,
I mean, it was insane. I mean, and nothing like it had ever been seen before. I mean, I've watched some of those videos, the news reels from when Image first hit the shelf, and it was insane. What would you say, like considering the way you came into the game and how long you've been in it? Um, if you were speaking to new artists right now, doing a panel, and someone asks you what would be, let's say, your top three suggestions for coming into the art world, whether it's a writer or comic artist, cover artist, whatever this area they're coming in for. What would you say your top three pieces of advice would be for them?
um, so Again, I've been on both ends when I say this. So I've been broke where every penny counts, and I've been financially secure. So when I say this, I understand that sometimes your situation affects this decision, but um, opportunities. It's not always, like I said, it's not always about the money you're going to get right this second.
Yep.
I think um, a lot of people think like, oh, I need to be compensated, and you do. You should be compensated for your work. But sometimes the opportunity is greater than the immediate compensation. Like I take on assignments now um, that maybe don't pay as well as doing my own stuff. But I understand more eyeballs are going to see this.
Right.
And so financially, I go, well, I'm only going to make, whatever, $200 doing this cover for this publisher. Um, but if I just do my own thing, I'll make, you know, 800 because I'll sell books and, I'll sell the original, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just throwing numbers out
Right. Right.
there. But you know, but I think a lot of guys make this mistake of, well, I got to get compensated on the spot. And sometimes your compensation is in raising awareness of your work. And, I work with a lot of smart guys, a guy that's on right now, McLean, who
Yep.
go, you know what? I'll take comps more than I'll take cash because
Yep.
they understand those books can become a lot more viable financially for them than whatever their page rate is. And so I
Yep.
think sometimes people, um, young artists go, well, I got to get compensated. And sometimes they have like ridiculous ideas of what they're worth. Now, I will say this: your art and your time is worth whatever you individually think it's worth.
Yeah.
So, if you think your, page rate should be $1,000 a page, good for you. And if you can get it,
More power to you.
more power to you. I don't ever begrudge, like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. But like you also have to. I always laugh at guys go, "Oh, that's too low," and then they'll sit without work for like 6 months, and I'm like, so whatever the rate is, I'm just gonna throw a number. So $30 a page was better than $0 a page, like you know,
Especially if you're doing it for a proper title that already has eyes on it.
exactly. So I think those are two things. Like take your opportunities and understand you can get compensated more than just cash. Now, your rent is due, your car note is due. You need cash. You don't need eyeballs and I
Exposure.
understand that. Yeah, and also the other thing too is I think a lot of young guys kind of you get enamored, and I was this way too, obviously, and I'm sure you are, and every up and coming artist, you get enamored with the idea of working for Marvel or DC because those are the icons and those are the companies everybody wants to work for when you're growing up because you grow up on Spider-Man, Batman, Green Lantern, and Wolverine, whatever it is, Deadpool. But the market has changed tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of young artists need to understand that sometimes you can get more out of working for an indie publisher, or doing your own book, let's say at Image, or
Yep.
getting on a Turtles book for IDW than you can working for Marvel or DC
Yep.
on secondary titles. When I was doing Grifter over at DC, I remember being at a convention and a guy walks up to the table, and this is during the New 52, where DC was hot. And a guy walked up and he's like, "Oh, Grifter, this is that Wildstorm book. Is Image still publishing it?" And I was like, "Holy crap, like this guy has no idea that this book exists at DC now, and is part of their 52 title." So,
Yep.
a lot of times just because it has that DC or Marvel, you know, logo on it doesn't mean it's beneficial to your career.
Right.
And you're limited in a lot of stuff you can do. Most indie publishers, if you do covers or, interiors and you want to do prints, most of them are like, yeah, cool, go ahead. In Marvel and DC, it doesn't work that way. You can't take your Marvel cover and offer it as a print. without, going through a long process of, um, being, um, you know, being allowed to do so. So I think sometimes that's the other thing that young up and coming guys don't understand is that sometimes your best opportunity is not at the big two.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think with the indie market blowing up like it has in hell just the last 5 years, let alone prior to that, but it's just in the last 5 years. I mean, I definitely think there's some spots there worth having eyes on. I mean, even for myself as a new artist, I've been doing it now professionally for 3 years, and I've got no, 8 indie covers published, and I have one cover so far with Dynamite. I've got one other bigger company title that just got finished. It's going to coloring. Then I've got a couple other books with Ray, that should hopefully be out here soon too. And I still get that question because I don't hide what I charge. I tell people what I charge for covers, and I'll get other people who are kind of in my lane, so to speak. Other artists are in my lane as far as like popularity, kind of, and workload, kind of. And I still get that message like, dude, you're charging too low. And I'm like, well, no, I'm charging what I'm comfortable with. I understand that it's much lower than what my normal commission rates are, but to me, it's kind of like you rubbing my back, I'm rubbing yours. You're giving me the pleasure of doing your cover when you could have chosen a bunch of other people, and I'll give you a big discount. You just throw me some comps, and I'm happy. The same thing like with my Vampirella. A lot of people are like, why are you doing Vampirella? I was like, well, for me, that I still think Vampirella is an icon character. I mean, been around since the 70s. That she hasn't had to redefine herself really in very many ways. Really stay true to the character and what it was. And I get to sit back now and say, yeah, I mean, I know I'm an up and comer. I don't really have a massive name or nothing like that. I'm not Jim Lee or anything like that. But I get to say that I did a cover of a character that a lot of the greats have done. And, and I did that cover for free because, I told him, I was like, dude, if you want me to do Vampirella, I'm cool with it. I'll do it for free. You just throw me some comps. We'll call it even.
Smart. I've told a couple of people this. Ryan Kincaid, when I first, I think I published like his second published cover, and it was literally he did a free pinup, and I thought it was so good. I called him up. I was like, "Hey, can I use this as a cover instead?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." And then, I got positive reaction to it, and I called him up, and I was like, "Hey, I want you to do some more coverage for me. What do you want to get paid?" And he was like, "Nothing. I just want books."
Yep.
And he's to this day, like he charges obviously for covers with a lot of people, but with a lot of people, he'll just go, "No, I just need comps from you," because he understood, you know, um, and it's something you said, like you got to understand your lane and where you're at and what you do and how that aspect of the business works for you. Um, Ryan understands he's going to make his money off, remarks,
Yep.
signatures, getting those books slabbed, like all that kind of stuff. He understands the market. He knows, like what's the point of charging somebody 400, 500 bucks when I can get 10 books, get them slabbed and sell them for 100 bucks each, easy,
Right.
if they're all 90. So, and with remarks, let's say he charges 50 bucks a remark. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's $1,500. So now instead of making 500 bucks, he's made 1,500. And
Yeah.
my point is like, you just got to understand, what your market is and how to maximize that. Um, you know, and again, look at that guy is great. Like to see how a guy smartly built a career from just kind of a guy who was at conventions, to all of a sudden a guy who's like basically got his own, publishing company and got his own empire.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, you got to give yourself you got to have faith in yourself first, and
oh yeah,
you definitely need to know your value for sure. But you also got to know where to move those chess pieces around that gets more eyes on you with certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm big about, artists need to be protective of you know what they do, and they need to be compensated in certain areas and things like
Of
that.
course.
Joe Blow rolling up with a Kickstarter that has never been heard of, never been seen, wanting me to do a cover for him for free when I know I'm going to bring about 1,000 people to the deal just off of my name so far.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of weird to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I've done them before. Like I've heard about a story. I'm a big horror fan, and I've heard about a story, and I contact someone, hey, you're doing so and so. I love that concept. I'll do a cover for free for you, or I'll do a cover for $100, and just stupid cheap. So I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with that, and it's definitely, the comps are definitely where it's at in a lot of it, like you said, the remarks and things like that. And I think some of the people that are, once they have a bit of a following, and once they have a little bit of value to themselves, they know they've got a solid following behind them pretty much. It's like they kind of get a little bit of that. Now let me try to get every nickel I can get. So not
Yeah.
only do I want you to pay max price for my cover work, now I want the comps also, and then I'm wanting the signature fees, and then I'm wanting the remark fees, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think some people get just a little
Yeah.
caught up in that, just a little too much.
And
When
again,
you know,
I totally agree with you. Like everybody should be compensated for their work.
yeah,
I'm not telling everybody work for free.
no, no, no,
But again, it's just also understand how many avenues are available to you,
right,
especially like once shows open back up.
yeah,
That's adding a new layer. But the online thing is so crazy right now.
yep,
With
yeah,
live
it is.
sales and Facebook groups and social media, like just understand how many avenues really are available to us as
Yep.
creators that weren't available, even 10 years ago.
Yep,
So,
that's true. Social media changed the game big time. I
yeah,
mean, I
no,
mean,
these,
indie has blown up huge. I mean, like a lot of people keep saying, "Oh, DC Marvel," and don't get me wrong. I mean, my Grail would be a Batman cover. There's no doubt, but that's because I'm a big fan of him. But I love the indie world. I love the people I've met. I love the covers that I've done. I love the conversations I've had with these people that are just insanely passionate about the titles that they're writing or they're drawing. And that's been a game changer for me. Like it really, like I used to be old DC, old Marvel, and even though they're still on my mind back here, the indie stuff has just been a really fun ride. Like I said, I love seeing passion on people. So when I see how they talk about their projects, dude, I'm grinning from ear to ear. So I definitely love that. And McLean had a question for you, and not to change the
yeah.
subject, but I want to get it before I scroll too far. So he had a question here for you. He was wanting to know what your oldest drawing tool you have in your art supplies and why you refuse to replace it.
Okay, so I had my apartment burned down in like 2009, I think. So any old tools would be gone with that fire.
Oh no.
No, it's cool. It's way behind me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, here's the thing. I tools are tools. It you do what you do with your hand and with your mind.
Yeah.
So, I remember being at a show, uh, convention, and somebody asked for a commission. I was like, oh man, I don't have my supplies with me. And my neighbor um, was like, if you can draw, you can draw with any pencil. And he just handed me like a old school, like HB, like number 2 pencil. And I was like, what? And he was like, it's not a tool. Um, it's you. Like if you can draw, you can
Yeah.
draw. If you can't, you can't. Um, oh, thank you guys, but seriously, it was cool. I had insurance. The thing that hurt most is some of my original art that I had burned,
Mm.
and my comic collection from when I was a kid burned down. That was the tough part. But it's totally cool. Way behind me. My life is awesome. That's just a memory. Um, but I appreciate the kind words and the suck that tear back up, buddy. Suck that tear back up. Um, but yeah, so as far as tools go, I mean, there's tools that I like using. I'm a big I love using my lead pointer.
Oh, that thing is awesome.
That's that's what I prefer to draw with. But you know what? I've had those like fail on me. I've had one explode on me one time, and if I need to get something drawn, then I just grab whatever's available and I draw it. And I'm always trying new ink
Yeah.
pens, and so as far as tools go, it's whatever's available. Um, I showed up to another convention and realized that I forgot all my supplies.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and this I was like, oh man, this is a 3-day show, and I'm planning on doing commissions. So I just went around to all my buddies and I was like, hey, do you have an extra of anything? Um, and so one guy would give me like an extra, hey, I have my kids, Mickey Mouse pencil.
There you
Can you
go.
use that? I was like, I can use a .7. I can make it work. And then I'll go to the next guy and he goes, hey, I have an extra pen of this size. And it was just kind of like I wound up getting, a nice set of tools that got me through the weekend. So again, tools are great, but if you got to make do with what you got to make do. Like you got to MacGyver it sometimes, and
That's right.
whatever's available, that's what you use.
Break out of your comfort zone just a little bit.
And sometimes you find something you didn't know was a tool. You never looked for it, you never knew
Yep.
it existed, and sometimes you go, hey, that's something now I'm going to put in my arsenal. So
Yeah, definitely. There you go. Crayolas. There you go. Like
hey,
Sean said, break out the Crayolas.
hey,
Um, so, you've done stuff for, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've done stuff for Marvel,
yep,
you've done stuff for Image,
yep.
and then you started branding yourself with Do You Poos and
Yeah, I was at DC when I started the do poo stuff.
dude,
So
it's insane how much that blew up.
it is because it started off as a joke, really. You know, um, and I did one cover, and like the first do you poop cover is Dark Knight, is a homage to Dark Knight #1. And the reason I did that one was I was like, it's easy and I can color it myself, so I don't have
Yeah,
to
there you
pay.
go.
So I don't have to pay a digital colorist. That was my thought behind it. I was like, it's cool, it's iconic, and it's easy. I can do it myself.
So
And
what got that though? What made you just all of a sudden decide, you know what? I'm gonna take Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, and I'm about to just incorporate him into insane covers.
well, okay, so it started off. I was still living in California, and I went to this comic book swap meet, and there was a guy there that had a T-shirt that says uh, it was Pooh as Deadpool, and it said Deadpool, and he was looking for an artist, but he had nothing. Like he just had the shirt made, and he had like no idea how to produce comics. So we had a mutual friend. We started talking. We worked out. I was like, I'll do this book for you. Um, and I came up with the concepts. He just had like the basic idea, and we started doing it. It was called Deadpool. And I went out, did my convention circuit around the country, and I was bringing booze with me, and it started catching on. And then I found out the guy was doing like some really shady business stuff,
Oh
and like,
no.
how the poo books are always numbered.
Yeah.
He would then call up the printer behind my back, and um,
Wow.
he'd get a bunch of them printed up without numbering and sell them off. And I was like, dude, when I found out, I was like, bro, you can't do that. Like, the reason people are paying premium for this is because they are so limited and they are numbered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't be in business with you. And and I also knew everybody was like, oh, that's Marat's book. Because nobody knew this guy. Everybody
Right.
associated with me. I actually just looked up copyright law and realized that if I do my own Deadpool Winnie the Pooh parody, he can do his and I can do mine.
Right.
And Poo was born, and Deadpool kind of died on the vine because he had no creative ideas.
Yeah.
He thought like, oh, I can do this by myself, and I was like, dude, do you? I'm gonna do me, and we're good.
Yep.
Um, and again, I just couldn't be in business with somebody who was, doing that kind of shady
Yeah.
stuff. Um, you know, um,
The other thing too, so and like I said, and so just for anyone who might be listening that doesn't know what all it is, well, if they don't know what Do You Poo is at this point, I don't know how they could not know. I mean, I think I've seen those books in every single, and I'm in a lot of groups, every single group I've been in.
love him or
I've
hate him.
yeah, well, to be honest, I really haven't seen anybody hating on them,
Oh,
unless
there's
I'm
been a few. See,
have they
I've seen
unless I'm being
my
sheltered here.
no. It's funny because my former business partner, not the Deadpool guy, but Brian Brian Sharp, who was my business partner for a while. Um, it used to infuriate him. He would like send me screen captures. Like this guy's talking crap about us and about Google, and I'm gonna go at him, and I'd be like, dude, like, who cares? Like,
Yeah,
our stuff sells. Like, I'm not producing books for guys that hate him. Like, they're not gonna buy them. Cool. Like,
yep,
I'm producing it for you see all these people like Robert and Kelly and Brittany and all these other people that enjoy it.
yep.
I'm doing it for the fans of it, not for the people who don't like it. And I was like, and so I'll see somebody, I'll scroll Facebook and somebody like, I don't get this poo thing. It's just a cash grab, da 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 da. And I'm like, well, first of all, dude, it's okay. If it's a cash grab, isn't that what we all do? Like we're trying to make money to support our
Yeah.
families and pay our bills. So yes,
I
I guess it's a cash grab, but it's a cash grab the way
Yeah,
everybody
but
makes a cash grab.
that's got to be the weirdest damn comment that I've ever heard, and I've seen those before too, especially about like the ASM 55 variant,
Hmm?
which, in my opinion, that I wish I'd have thought of that damn idea. It's so simple and it looks so badass, and it
I
just blew up.
I'm with you. When I saw it, I was like, it's freaking brilliant. And then I did a Do You Boo parody of
Yep.
it. And Patrick's agent or manager, he messaged me and he was like, Patrick absolutely loves this. Can we get him a personalized copy? And I was like, of course, like it's awesome. Um, no, it's brilliant. That Spider-Man
Yeah,
thing
it
is
was,
brilliant.
and that
And
was
again, it's like we're collectors. That's what we do. Like,
yeah.
you know, and, and the people that seem to hate it the most are flippers.
Oh,
Like,
that's no doubt. There's no
yeah,
doubt about
like
that. The people screaming the
I'm
most.
sorry, you're sitting on 300 copies of, Venom 32 that you should only bought 100 of, you know, um, and you're angry because, the Do You Poop parody of that, you know, the
Yeah.
50 copies I made sold out, but like, it's the way it is. And
Yep.
again, um, don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
I went
Well,
into I
a
went into
little
the
is a
comic store yesterday. There was tons of books. I walked
yeah.
out with 6 books because those were the 6 books that I liked. I paid my money for those 6. I didn't look at the other, 30 books that came out this week and go, these are terrible. I don't
Yeah,
understand why they
exactly.
published it. Da 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 da. Like I bought what I liked,
Yeah.
and I
There's
just
no
moved
doubt
on.
about it. There's no
And
doubt about it. The whining is the flippers. I mean, you see it every
yeah,
time. It's the same people. It's just like when I saw that happen about ASM 55, and I knew ASM 55 was going to blow. I mean, again, we've never seen that design. It was very elegant. It was very different. There was no way that was not going to blow up. And the only people that were showing out were like a lot of them were the same people I saw showing out about Batman Damn #1. And because they didn't have it on a pull list, they didn't give two shakes about it. Then boom, overnight it went insane, and they lost their mind on social media. But with how many do you poos, like how many covers have you done for that so far? Do you
I got
know
to
a
be
number?
honest. That we got to start doing a count of Russ Cassidy, who came on as being part of Counterpoint. He's like, hey, we need to start um uh get a count. And I was like, dude, we're probably at 600 now. Like,
Holy Jesus.
I know we have the record for the most variant covers, and the only
That's
reason
pretty cool.
I don't like contact Guinness is because I don't want to raise like Disney's, eyeball where they're like, because
Yeah, you don't want to get too much attention.
I know Disney's aware of it, and we're very, we walk the razor's edge with
Yeah,
copyright and parody, and we make sure we're
right.
on the parody end of it. And I've had friends who work at Disney in the offices and go, "Oh, they're aware of it and they don't like it, but they
They
know
can know about it
you're
right
just
now.
doing parody." But honestly, every day because it is a parody book, every day I'm going, I can get a cease and desist in the mail today, and that'll be the end of the poo books.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go fight Disney.
No, no, no.
Um,
They got God money. It's yeah.
yeah,
So now your other one that you've done though, Hardly Thin.
yeah.
That one's been another huge hit also.
Again, just a joke. Me and Terry Sala, who co-wrote Do You Poo and writes the Naughty and Nice series and some
Yeah.
other stuff, is a buddy of mine. We were like just talking one night and we were talking about Harley, and he's like, we should do a parody, and I was like, oh yeah, fun. And then just the name Hardly Thin came up, and we were like, that's awesome. Now we got to figure out a story. And again, it was another thing, like, that's how um, Brian Sharp actually came into the picture as my partner. Was I told him about this Hardly Thin, and he was like, well, I'll invest in that. And I was like, all right, well, why don't you invest into the company? And he did. And, we were partners for a couple of years. And then, I bought him out. We're on great terms. Um, but yeah, that's how he came into it. He thought it was hilarious. And I was like, I always approach things with like, I'm very optimistic in life, but I'm very pessimistic in business because I think like you never know what strikes a chord with people. Because
Yeah.
I've done like covers that I thought are like, this one's gonna blow up. People are gonna think this is the greatest one ever, and then people have been like, oh, that's cool. And then I've done some that I've been like, eh, and people are like, this is the greatest one ever, and I'm like, okay, you never know.
That
Um,
is definitely true. Do you have a
so
favorite that you've done so far? I
we
know
got
that's a
one coming.
hard one, but
We got one coming out in April. That's my favorite at the moment. They kind of change all the time.
yeah.
Um, you know, when it's I'm one of those guys. I know there's like two groups. There's guys who always look at their work and they go, I see every mistake. I hate
Oh
it.
God, yes.
And then there's guys who are like, I'm awesome. This is fantastic. And they believe it and they love their own stuff. And, you know, I don't judge either side, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely the guy who's always like, I could draw an amazing piece and think this is the best thing I've ever drawn, put it down and come back 20 minutes later
Yeah.
and look and go, that pinky's off. And come back like
Yeah.
20 minutes later and go, yeah, that kneecap should have been tweaked a little. So, um, the thing uh, that happens is I like something for a little bit and then I'm
Yeah.
on to the next thing. So, because I'm not such a huge fan of my own stuff that I always think it can improve and be better, I always have a new favorite. And usually, I got to be honest, it's usually the other people involved. It's the colorist or the digital painter
Right.
and what they've done. Like, we have a series of Naughty and Nice cosplay covers coming in April. Um, and I drew it and I had a colorist in mind and I had an effect in mind and I sent it to him and I was like, if he can pull this off, this cover is going to be epic.
Yeah.
If he can't, I don't like it at all. So my drawing didn't change. And I just got the image today and I was like, oh my God, it's like you read my mind. He did everything I wanted and more. And now the cover's epic. But if I look at the original, I go, eh,
Yeah. But
so
isn't some of that's a little different? Or it has been from my experience with my colorist. I use Robert Nugent, which absolutely blew me away. Um, do you think sometimes that the reason that might happen on like stuff that's going for covers or stuff that's going to be digitally colored? Do you think that it's one of those things where we're doing the line work a certain way, or at least it feels this way to me. Like I'm doing the line work and everything a certain way because I know he's going to color it. So the like you might I might look at the final inks and everything for what I'm about to send him, and there might like it's definitely a little different than, let's say, I would sat there and I did this, fully penciled out, every detail put in for commission, like that. Do you think it may be something like that? Because I feel like that's the way with me sometimes.
Well, definitely. Like, when I'm doing the girly stuff, because I know the colors I'm going to get on it are really great with skin tones. Guys
Right.
like Ivan Nunes or Sanju, um, you know, uh, they're fantastic with that stuff. So less is almost more for guys like that.
Right.
Um, I'm working on a book called Blind Tide right now, and that's a full blown action book. And Adalso Corona's inking it, and I know how Adalso inks. So I'm rendering a lot more because I know
Nice.
what the end product is going to look like. With the poo covers, it's really weird because I'm not only trying to homage the cover, but I'm also trying to capture the feel.
Right.
So let's say I'm homaging a Neil Adams cover. I get out the brush pens and I try to get that brushy feel. If I'm doing a McFarlane, I try to get that crisp line with those kinetic weird, thin lines going all over the place. If
Yep.
it's a Jim Lee, then I'm trying to get those perfect cross hatches that Scott Williams gets over Jim stuff. So the Pooh stuff's a little different because each one is rendered different because I'm not just trying to capture, you know, um, the homage of it, but actually the feel of the original. If you
Right.
always look like the logos, we try to match up with, the logos. If it's a DC, then we have a counterpoint DC looking logo. If it's a Marvel book, from the 80s. It has a Marvel 80s logo, or if it's from the 90s. So we always try to capture the whole feel of the book, not just the image itself. So from that perspective, it's always different because, the rendering is completely different.
Right.
So
And so because I definitely want to get your opinion on your other work too. Because I mean, yes, a lot of people here recently know you from the Harley Thins and the Do You Poos and things like that. But like going back to the the other works that you've done and your new branding with your company. Tell us about your company aspect of it, what you guys are doing, or what you're doing with that.
okay,
Um,
so Counterpoint Comics, again, it like a lot of stuff that's happened over the last 7, 8 years. It almost started by accident. I never had any intention of having a real publishing company. I just started Naughty and Nice. I was literally driving, like it was mid-December, and um, there was a movie coming out, Christmas movie, and it said, "Are you naughty or nice?" And I was like, "Oh my god, what a great name for two bad girls."
yep.
And I drove home and I got on the internet and I looked it up. I was like, all right, nobody has a book named Naughty and Nice. If I change the spelling, then I can have a copyright on it. Um, and literally, I had a convention uh, 35 days from the point I looked it up, which was mid-December. Um, and I had Ebas and Mike DeBalfo, who I
Oh,
already was going to have them do covers for me. And I called them up and I was like, hey, I'm about to send you designs for two hot chicks. Um, just let's switch course and do that. And I need them in 2 weeks. And I started drawing. And I was like, just draw what you want to draw. And I wanted to
best
draw
word
robot,
an artist can hear.
right? Well, I was drawing for myself. And
Yep.
I literally, my whole goal was to make $1,000 extra that convention. And so we put out Naughty and Nice #1, and I had help with a retailer who was kind of helping me sell them. And after the show, we split the money, and I was like, "This was awesome! I made more than $1,000 extra. This is fantastic." Um, and he calls me 2 weeks later, and he's like, "Hey, all these retailers want to know when #2's coming out." I was like, "I haven't even thought about a #2." And I was like, "He's like, yeah, yeah, this book is hot. People want more." And that like transitioned into me actually starting my own publishing company. Um, and that's again grown because it was like I never thought it was going to be like legit publisher where I'm having people like go like, "Will you publish my book?" And I go like,
Yeah.
I still don't have the infrastructure, because we're not in Diamond, and we're kind
Right.
of, you know, no, I just publish my own stuff and I have fun with it, and so it kind of grew into a real company, and now we're actually doing two labels. We're keeping our Counterpoint label, which is the goofy fun stuff that we do, Naughty and Nice, Do You Poo, Hardly Thin, Tiggerverse. And then we're going to have a label called Counterpoint Elite, which is going to be the more like straightforward, like comic book stuff like we did a book called Pray for the Sinner, which we did pre-COVID and people loved it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like this sci-fi action book, but then our whole thing was like, we're going to use Pray for the Sinner as our tent pole. And we're going to go out to conventions. We're going to start getting booths. We're really going to be a real, publisher now. And then COVID hit. So we kind of shelved Pray for the Sinner, but I'm going to make a plug on your show for something else.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Um, we're bringing it back. We've been working on books. Been putting them in. We got issue 2 and 3 all done. Um, but tomorrow, if you're on Facebook, go join Clan McDonald Comics. We're doing a live sale. We're making a huge Pray for Sinner announcement because I was able to work out a deal with another publisher to do a crossover with another iconic character. Um, and that's going to be kind of the influx to get Pray for the Sinner going again. And
Nice.
Blindside, which is like a personal project. Because that's the other funny thing is, as a kid, I hated drawing funny animals and I hated drawing women because I wasn't very good at it. I wanted to draw two guys punching each other. Like
Right.
that's what I wanted to do. And it's just funny that I built this company and, kind of like the second chapter of my career and my most successful chapter, found freaking funny animals and, and chicks. Like I was
The
like, this
stuff
is
you're trying to avoid.
right. And so that's the other thing I always tell artists, like, don't fight the path that's being laid out in front of you.
Yeah.
Like I've had friends who had chops in coloring or in inking, but they're like, I want to be a penciler. And I'm like, dude, like you're on a scale of 1 through 10, you're like a 4 as a penciler, but you can be like a 8 or 9 as an inker or
Right.
as a color. It's like go with what works for you. Like don't fight, understand when your opportunities are there and go with it. Like I didn't fight. Like people are like, oh, you're just known as the poo guy. Cool. Okay.
I'll take it all day long.
I'd rather be known as the poo guy than be the guy who's drawing Grifter. Then people go, oh yeah, that book from the '90s. I remember that. Like, I'd rather have people running up to my table wanting to get books before they're sold out, you know,
Yeah.
um, or like, oh, you're a guy who draws boobs. Okay, you
Take it all
got me.
day.
You
Yeah.
you got
Take
me.
it all day.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Well, let
but
me give
blindside's
you.
like a passion. It's actually like when I wake up, I was like, this is what I want to draw. And Adalso Corona, who is just one of the best thinkers out there, in my opinion, he just think Brett Booth on Legends of X-Men.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
in my opinion, right now, at this moment, Adalso's producing the best things in comics. That's just my opinion. I know it's shared by a lot of guys. He also happens to be one of my best buddies. So it's like, this is awesome. Like I'm getting to work with my best friend,
Yeah.
you know, on a pet project that I absolutely love. Um,
And that's what it's all about. It's about, getting to meet these people, make these connections, and then getting to say, I get to work with those guys every day. I get to do what I love, how I want to do it, and I get to do it with the people I want to be around.
exactly.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, yeah, we get stuck sitting cooped up in an office, working 8, 10 hours a day on a lot of days, and and cons used to be our main artery for connecting and stuff like that when you didn't live next to certain people. But I mean, that's definitely what it's about. I mean, I don't that like talking about like the camaraderie and stuff like that. For me, that's what I crave and I enjoy. I've met a lot of the guys from Texas and stuff. I've done a lot of events in Texas with Four Leaf Comics and with Chris Hayes and his stuff, and then McLean and all these other guys. And like I can't understand the pettiness that happens in some of it, because I'm like, you're getting to do what you love, and you're getting to be around people you want to be around. I don't understand the pettiness with other people and the hate and the drama and all of that. I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting to do something you love, and you're not breaking concrete in 105-degree weather.
Dude, I'm with you. Like, I feel blessed every day.
Yep.
Like I'm rounding 50 years old, and I've never had to be in a, well, I've had a few moments, but for the most part, I've been a kid my whole life. Like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Like, look at that shelf behind me. That's my office. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
like this is what I do. Like, this is freaking fantastic. And that's,
and there's room for everyone. With social
yeah,
media being the way it is, the way indie is coming up like it is, there's room for all of us at the table.
seriously, do you? Like, I want everybody to be successful.
Yep.
Find, like
Yeah.
I said, find your lane, find what works for you,
Yep.
and do it. If it happens to be in the same lane as mine, cool. Like, there's plenty. It's funny. I've know guys in the industry like, oh, I can't talk about other people's Kickstarters because I got mine going, or
Yeah.
oh, I can't give this guy a shout out because it might take away from my sale this weekend.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, like, be proud of your product. Like,
Yep.
if you have good stuff, people have shown, like you see right now, there's Kickstarters running and they're all making a lot of money.
Yep.
There's enough support out there for your product. If you have product people want. If you don't have product people want, it doesn't matter if you give 0 shout outs or 100 shout outs or 1,000 shout outs. People still aren't going to support your product.
Yep. Yeah, when I first started, like 2 years ago, and I don't do it every day because I've got tons to do. But man, when I meet an artist at a con or some kind of show, or I get to interacting with them on social media, and I see how they are with their followers, the way they interact, the way they talk, and things like that, and the passion that no matter what level of artistry you want to compare it to, when I see that passion on them, I'll share them on my page and tell my followers to go check this out. And I've straight up had people send me PMs going, "Dude, what are you doing? You're sharing competition." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm sharing a colleague. I'm sharing someone else that's on the same journey. They're not my competition." I mean, that's an insane thinking process to me.
Well, it's two things. Like, A, you're absolutely right. They're not your competition. But on the other hand, like, what's wrong with competition? Like, I'm a huge sports fan. Like when I walk into a show, and I know a lot of guys that think like this. Like, there's X amount of dollars at this show. We all walk in, we all want a piece of that pie.
Right.
It's like if there's $1 million at a big show, you're getting your piece of $1 million.
Right.
But there's not going to be 2 million. There's $1 million at that show. So whatever you can make at that show, whether it's $100, $1,000, 100,000, wherever
Right.
you are. So we're all fighting for the same dollar. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean like, well, if you get it, I'm not going to get it. Well, neither one of us might get it. Bob down the corner might get it. He might have the
Yeah.
hot print or the hot variant. Or you know what? Freaking Marvel might have the book everybody wants, and people are willing to spend, $100 for that freaking variant,
Yep.
for every retailer that was able to pick it up because you couldn't, and they're not going to spend that money at your table. Like, everybody in some way is competition, but that doesn't mean you have to be cutthroat. Like,
Yeah.
Embrace it. Like, I walk into a show and I'm like, I'm trying to walk in to any convention or anytime I put out, a new book or a variant cover. I'm trying to put out something that people go, I gotta have this.
Yep.
So I'm not thinking about what you did,
Yeah.
not in a bad way. Like, my eyeballs on everybody, but I understand, like, in some ways, Brian Polito is my competition. In some ways, he's not because he's so far ahead of me.
Yeah.
But I also understand that, you know what? If I have something people really want, they're gonna go, well, I'm gonna get that Lady Death, and I'm gonna get that Naughty and Nice, and
Yep.
you know, this guy over here, he's not gonna get my dollar. So my job is to produce something you can't say no to.
Yep.
You know,
And
I'm not
that's the
worried.
way I look at it. That's the way I look at it too. Because and for anyone listening, I want to make sure I clarify what I'm saying there. I don't mean that they're not my competition. Like I'm so far ahead of them. That's not what I mean. I would definitely want to make sure anybody listening understands that's not what I'm talking about. I just mean I don't view people in that way that I can't let light shine on them because I'm worried it'll steal from me.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
such a weird thing. But and like I said, I get those messages every once in a while, and I always scratch my head on it. So I love the fact that when I see whether it's vets or whether because like an example, Don Matique, holy Jesus, one of the sweetest people I've ever met.
Sweetheart, sweetheart.
I mean, she 100% is all about the fans, all about fellow artists. She is all about everyone rising at the same time. And she's super popular, super well known,
Yeah,
done tons of incredible work, and she will still take the time to talk to up and coming artists that have questions, and she's very patient and understanding, and she'll give her legit feedback on things and approaches you should take and things like that. And so when I see that happen, I mean, to me, that's what it's about is when you've already kind of paved the way a little bit and you're sharing your knowledge with someone coming behind you. I mean, I've had, I've like when I was first starting out, I've had Dawn, not only comment, I've had her share my work before. And I mean, to see someone with that, following, sharing your stuff who is really nobody. I mean, that's pretty damn badass.
I mean, Don understands, and I think a huge percentage of artists or creators in the industry do, but then
Yeah,
there's a percentage of people that just don't get it. It's like, dude, your fans are your lifeblood.
yeah,
They're the ones who support you with their hard-earned money.
yep,
And so you need to appreciate the fact that they choose your work or your product to
yep,
support and understand they have a lot of choices.
yeah,
Not to mention, like, I was raised just be cool to people, be good to people, in general. So, there's no difference between, me and, Joe Schmo walking down the street. We just do different things for a living. And I
yep.
always laugh when guys act like celebrities at conventions, and I'm like, dude,
Oh my god.
dude, you walk outside, nobody knows who you are. I,
Oh,
I have, I have been down the streets with many super famous artists. Guys who are on the convention floor, people are like, oh my God. On
right.
the street, they're nothing. I've only been in situations twice where they've been recognized. Rob Liefeld and Robert Kirkman. So if you didn't create Deadpool and you didn't create The Walking Dead or something at that level, on the street, you're really not much of a celebrity, you know?
And I
And
mean,
that's just like, enjoy it, appreciate it though, and understand like you're blessed. You're blessed from Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, all the way to Marat Mychaels, all the way to the guy who, it's his first show and he's able to sell prints and
yep,
make a profit at his first con.
yep,
Like we all need to understand, no matter what level you're on,
yep,
appreciate the people that allow you to be on that level.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I'll never get
and don't
down
be
with
a
you.
dick. That's good
Yeah,
advice. Just
God,
don't be a dick.
dude. I have seen, and I'm not going to name drop anyone, of course, but and I always try to give the benefit of the doubt. Okay, maybe they're having a bad day. I get that. Maybe the person that was just there before them was a smart ass and rude, and it left a bad taste in their mouth when the next person walked up. I get that. I understand that can happen sometimes. But yeah, I've seen occasions where certain artists who are well known, and I was at a con, and I watched how someone would walk up to their table and just say hello and just ask basic questions, and the guy was extremely short with them, extremely rude, pretty much blew the guy off. And I'm like, I again, it's one of those scratch my head moments. I'm like, how the hell do you forget that the people walking up to your table, the people that are blessing you by walking up to your table to say hello, out of all the people they
Yeah.
could have walked up to, the people who have bought your product day in and day out for years, how the hell can you possibly forget that that's who put you in that seat?
Yep.
I mean, you put your pants on just like everyone else. You are not running into burning down houses, pulling out babies and saving them from fires. You are drawing people in their underwear. How in the world
100%.
could you possibly forget that? So
100% agree with you, buddy.
I mean, when I see guys like you, and I see guys like Jim Lee, I've seen how he's interacts with people. People like I've met Mark Silvestri. I saw how he reacted with fans. David Finch is another one that is incredibly humble. Don Matee, like I mentioned earlier, there's so many. I mean, thank God there's more really cool people than there are crappy ones. But I got a question for you. I don't want to skip over
Yeah.
people's questions here, and then we'll wrap up here in just a minute. I
Sounds
don't want to
good.
hold you all night, but
And Sean, that phrase works too.
let's see, where's it at? Where did it go? Okay. Kelly had a question for you
Yeah.
about have you done commissions that you've kept for yourself that you
Uh,
ended up
just
going, I love it too much?
just one. Um, I did a homage to Spider-Man 300 with Venom, and
Uh,
Todd signed it, and I had it graded, and it came back a 9.8, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep this one because it's signed by Todd.
there you
Uh,
go.
so that's the only commission that I've ever kept for myself. And I've done commissions where I've called the person up and said, "Hey, I want to use this as a print. Is that cool?" Like, because it came out so good. Like, I was
Right.
like, "This will make a great print." Um, but that's about it. For the most part, again, I've always been like, sell your art, and move on because you
Yeah.
can draw more. Like the one thing that I can do is create more of my own art.
Right.
So I'm not emotionally attached. I know some people who like hold on to
Ooh,
everything, and I'm like,
dude.
I
It's
can
so
probably
hard.
I'll probably draw it again, and I'll draw it better.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I've had it happen a couple times, like where everything just because I'm very critical of my stuff, like most artists are,
Yeah,
and usually letting it go is not a problem. But every once in a while, I'll do one that I'm like the stars were aligning that day, and everything went smooth, and I'm just absolutely in love with it, and then it's so hard to let it go. I want to send you a question real quick, Marat,
yeah.
because I want to ask you this before, just to let's see what you think. So bear with me 1 second.
Hmm.
I do have another question for you. Also, out of out of all the people you worked with at Image Comics, um, who was well, I don't want to put you on the spot like that about who was your favorite or anything like that, because that can cause people to be a
No,
little
you can
like,
ask me.
are you sure?
You can
Okay,
ask me.
'cause some people
Yeah.
are nervous about answering those. Who was the most fun to work with in Image? That was like when you went in, you knew your day was going to be just awesome.
Well,
Like whether it's
Image
funny or whatever.
Image was a bunch of studios. So if you're asking me who was in my studio, who I always had a blast with, um,
Yeah,
there's a inker named Jaime Mendoza who inked Detective for a long time, and he's inked a lot of stuff over Chris Bachalo. Um, Me and Jaime became super close friends. We were roommates, so we always hit it off. Actually, just saw Jaime earlier today, dropping off some pages for him to ink for an
oh,
upcoming
nice.
project. So in the studio was him. We had an intern who became an artist, worked on Battlestar Galactica and Vampirella and Gambit and the Hulk named Dietrich Smith, who also became a good buddy of mine. And me and Dietrich have been friends now for almost 30 years. We
Nice.
always have a blast. So those are the guys. Look, me and Rob, we're on the phone at least, 2 times a week. We have a legitimate like brotherhood. Like we're buddies. We've been friends for over 30 years. We've had a brother relationship. We've been nose to nose, ready to throw blows. We never have. But it's like a legitimate like connection that we have. We're buddies.
Right.
Me and him always have great laughs. So being around him for a long time, um, all of Image Comics, freaking Todd McFarlane's hilarious. Uh,
Oh, I
if,
bet.
if if nothing else, just to hear him talk, I'm sure you guys have seen his videos or you've heard Rob
Yep.
do impressions of Todd. Like Todd's a funny guy, but his delivery is just amazing.
I what I loved about the interviews I've seen with Todd, and I sent you that message that I was going to ask you about, and if we need if that needs to set for a minute, that's fine. Um, One of the things I watched about, like I've watched all of Todd's interviews that I could find, and it's a few. And one of the things I loved about Todd, and I think this is something I damn sure wish more artists would get in their head. And the more people tell Todd he can't do something, he's going to prove your ass wrong. And I mean, not just wrong, he's going to prove you wrong like to the 10th power kind of thing. I love that. I love the way he's blunt. I love the way he's straight to the point. I love the fact that, he's, or at least, and again, I don't know him personally, obviously, or not. I'm just going by his interviews and the way he talks on these interviews. And he just strikes me as someone that when he says something, he means what he's saying. You know what I'm, if that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
not like I don't think he's trying to talk for the camera. You know what I'm getting? You know what
No,
I mean?
Todd is Todd. Todd is a madman. And Todd says what's on his mind. And, he has definitely had a career that justifies him saying what's on his mind.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
that. And with so tell me, and again, I know we're running over here a little bit, but dude, everybody's got like a ton of questions coming in now.
no, we're good.
um, um, oh, hey, what's up, Jonathan? And of course, thank you everybody that's tuning in tonight. I'm not trying to
Yeah,
ignore
thank
you
you
guys
guys.
or anything like that. Thank you so much for showing up and showing love for Marat. Um, do you? And I know these little questions. I think they're fun. I try to always stay on point with ups and downs and things like that. Because again, I know as me growing up, you never really heard artists talk about that. What when it comes to because even though there's a lot going on social media, and I keep telling people chase indie projects and try to get more into that. Don't worry about Marvel, don't worry about DC. That'll eventually come. Concentrate on indies and stuff. What with the competition, even though there's a lot on the table that people can get a piece of, what would be a piece of advice you would give an upcoming artist or writer or whatever for trying to? Because I know what my opinion of it would be, but you're being a 30-year plus vet. What would your feedback or your advice be to someone that feels like they're maybe not being seen as much yet, or what avenue should they strive for to just get seen more, other
Well,
than the obvious answer?
yeah, well, there's a couple of things. Because of social media, you have, more eyeballs than ever.
Yep.
Instagram, Facebook, you get those followers. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with an artist named Sajjad Shah. He's also one of my closest friends. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I find this colorist from India, and I message him and I go, "Hey, I like your work. What's your page rate?" We start talking. He's like, "Well, what are the projects?" And I'm like, I want you to color some naughty and nice stuff, and I want you to color, Sajjad has taken over Pray for Center, starting with issue 3, and I want you to color Sajjad Shah. I don't know if you're familiar with him. And he goes, "Oh my God, Sajjad Shah." And I was like, yeah, he's like, he's my favorite artist. He's who I
Oh
was
wow.
looking at when I started learning to draw. And this kind of makes full circle back to the point I was making earlier. Sajad has never done work for Marvel or DC, but social media has allowed him to gain a following and get people who he's their favorite artist. So the eyeballs are there. Um, as far as breaking in, look, I get people going, oh, I want to do a cover for you. I want to do a cover for you. I want to do a cover for you. First of all, not everybody can do covers.
Right.
Like people need to do interiors. It used to be where you broke in and you built, your chops, so to speak, and you build your reputation, and then they let you do covers.
Yep.
Like even like going way back to like legends. Like John Byrne did like I think like 30 issues of X-Men and he only did like 5 or 6 covers. Like it's something, and that was towards the end of his run for the most part. Dave Cockrum did most of the covers, and you're like, it was John Byrne on like maybe the hottest run of a book, in the history of comics, especially at the time. Um,
Right.
so that's one thing. Second of all, it's like your work, not you personally, but your work might be great. It just might not fit anything I do.
Right.
Like if you're gonna hit me up and go, hey, I want to do covers for you, and I look and I go, well, this guy's freaking a fantastic illustrator, but he does great like cars and buildings and
Right.
normal people, like, or straightforward superhero stuff. I'm like, but he doesn't draw, sexy women. He draws great women, but they're just not sexy. Well, he's not gonna be great on Naughty and Nice. And
Right.
I have no use for him on a book like Pooh, or Hardly Thin. So it's like, you're great, but I can't use you now. And if I say like, hey, if something comes up, I'll hit you up. Message me once in a while. Don't bombard me. Certain guys get angry if you don't hire him, and you're like,
Yeah.
dude, like that's great. But again, it's also um, sometimes it's a business decision.
Yeah.
Hey, your work is great. What do you charge? Oh, okay. Well, you're a guy with no, you're completely unknown. I don't know if I can sell 2 copies of your cover or 300 copies.
Right.
So I can take the same chance. I can't pay you the same thing I pay a Mike DeBalfo or an
Right.
Ebas.
Yeah.
Like so sometimes it's a pure business decision. I tell everybody the fan in me would go out and go, hey, John Byrne, I'll pay you $3,000 for a commission, or whatever it costs,
Yeah.
because I would love to have a John Byrne cover published under one of my books or on one of my books. The businessman in me goes, you're crazy. You can get like an Ebas, a DeBalfo, a Zerdy, and a few other guys for the same price. So the businessman in me is going to win because he's running a business.
Right.
So I think that's the other thing too, is like your talent is going to win out, and it has to be the right time and the right place. So the
Yeah.
fact that you reach out to a publisher who can't use you doesn't mean you're not good enough. Um,
Right.
and also don't like bug the crap out of them, because at some point, like me personally, I like working with people that are easy to work with.
Yeah.
If I work with somebody and they're a pain in the butt, I'm probably not going to work with them again unless they're just like so insanely popular that I have to bite my lip and go like, again, business decision,
Yep.
deal with this guy because as a businessman you have to. Um, I'm just going to go like, I'll work with somebody else. I want to work with. I'm 50 years old. I'm getting to my, grumpy stage. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with somebody who's difficult.
Are
You
you
know,
almost to your stay off my lawn stage?
I'm getting there. You know,
I'm already at that stage. Like
you know,
I
I
got
have,
zero patience for pushy dumb shit.
I love what I do right now. I wake up every day. I get to draw what I want to draw or work on things I want to work on.
Yep.
I work with artists who I think are amazing. I get, pages back from colorists, or I get like new covers from other artists or interiors or whatever it is. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. Like, I love what I do. I don't need, somebody messing it all up. I don't
Yep.
need to fly in my suit. Like, get out of my suit, fly. Like, you know,
Yeah, I don't get it either because I mean, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, about being realizing where you're at. I mean, I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm a toddler. I mean, I've been doing this 3 years professionally now. I've got a very solid following. I've done a handful of covers, a couple mainstream title covers coming out, and etc. And I get invited. You know, I get to go to cons and I get to go to in-store appearances, and I get to have full commission lists every time I open them, and I only open them up 4 times a year, and they fill up within a couple days. I mean, I get to sit at home and draw stuff that I grew up looking at. I don't want the drama. Even though, I do these rant videos, or used to do these rant videos about, dumb drivers and poor shipping quality and things like that. And that was kind of my way to vent a little bit of stuff here and there. But when it comes to the art stuff, man, I don't want drama. I don't want difficult clients. And don't get me wrong, I understand it's going to happen at moments. But dude, to be able to sit back and say this is what your career is, that's freaking insane.
It is. And also, like, funny story, because you were involved. Um, should we talk about the cover now?
Yes, please.
So I get a message from a retailer who's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use William Russell on a cover," and I was like, "Would you talk to me first?" And he was like, "Why?" I was like, "That guy's got a mouth." Like, and it turned out that I had you mistaken with somebody else,
Yep.
which worked out. But that was the whole thing. Like, there was a guy.
I can have a mouth, but it's
No,
usually
yeah. But I literally, I had you confused with somebody else. And I told that guy, I was like, dude, like, you know me, if they can draw 99 out of 100 times, I'm cool with anybody.
Yeah.
I was like, but this guy, like, he's, on the internet, like, he's just going off, like,
And he
he's talking
wasn't an
about,
artist either, was he? If I remember correctly, he wasn't an artist either, was he? He was something else.
yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
But I had the names confused. I thought that was you. And
Yeah,
I
when
was
he
like,
came back to me, he
dude,
was
like,
like,
I don't want this guy, like, I don't want him rubbing off on me. I don't want his stink on me at all.
yeah, when he sent me that, I was like, wait, what? Marat
And then you and I
just had a couple of conversations. What are you talking about?
No, and that's the thing. That's like, dude, and also understand, like, I mean, I hate cancel culture.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. But understand whatever you put out there. That travels. I spend half the day seeing something that infuriates me, and I start typing. And then I take a deep breath and I hit delete, 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 delete.
Oh, I've done it
delete,
so
delete.
many times.
And
don't get me wrong, I've done plenty of videos where now usually if anyone's ever actually watched my rant videos, they are almost always about, stop bullying people, stop harassing people, stop treating people with disrespect. It's that common sense stuff I was raised with. So and usually the way I tell people is, something I said pissed you off, you need to rethink your life. And I'm not no angel or nothing, but I'm just saying, any of the stuff I've ever went off of on my rant videos, they were always about the way people were treating other people dirty. And can we open cancel go? So yes, please. So so thank God we figured that out, because
we figured it out.
I was like, what?
And the angry artist over here, William, is doing a Hardly Thin cover that's going to be released pretty soon by Ray Kong. And Ray, I know you're watching Azure. It's Azure Comics. Yep. Azure Comics is releasing a Hardly Thin, and it's a great cover, it's a beautiful cover. And that they're going to be releasing. So when we'll all have to hit up Ray and find out when.
Yes.
But he just put in his order today, so it's coming soon, I imagine.
And it's been in the works for a minute, so I'm excited. And dude, out of all the covers I've done, even the Vampirella, even counting that one, dude, the Hardly Thin was my most nerve-wracking. There's no doubt about it. Because for those covers, it's all about, that kind of just sexy feel to it. And I hope I caught that well. I hope I portrayed that well. And because I love the cover. I'm a big fan of classic movies and stuff, so it kind of threw back to a little bit of that 1920s kind of feel, or at least I hope that's the way
Yeah.
it looks. That's the way I was intending. But so thank you, Jason. But yeah, dude, that was nerve wracking as hell. I was like, once we figured out what was going on there, I was like, I think I spent like 3 days doing different layout designs until I finally got that one. And I usually don't spend that much, but I think I threw away about 5 different damn designs until I sent you that one.
Now, sometimes it has to speak to you. Like, obviously you and I are working on a different cover, and um, you sent me the layout, and I was like,
Yep.
this can be so much better. Like the
Oh yeah.
basis there, and it's funny because even to this day, I'm always like, I hate telling other artists like do
No,
this,
please
do
tell
that,
me.
because a lot of guys are very open to it, and it's
Yeah.
funny because I've done it to some amazing artists who I think can draw circles around me, and they've been like, oh man, this is so helpful, thank you so much, and then I've done it to guys who I'm like, dude, you're not even that good, and they've been like, very like, I guess I'll make the change, and I'm like, bro, like it's for your benefit, because to me it's always the final cover is all that matters. Who cares
Yeah.
how you got there? I mean, I was working with a guy who I think is a phenomenal artist, and he sent me something, and the hand was off. And I messaged him, and I was like, "Hey, man, this hand is off. You need to tweak it." And he was like, "I see." And he tried it, and I was like, "That's still off." And he tried it again, and it's still off. And I just grabbed my iPad and I went into Procreate, and I just drew the hand out. And I was like,
There
more
you
like
go.
this. And he goes, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm just gonna trace this. Is that cool?" And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's fine. Like the final product is all that matters. It's gonna have your name on it. You know, to me, I could be like, whatever. Like, well,
Right.
you
But
know,
it's nice. That's why I like that, the fact that you like the cover that um yeah, you did just mention that, right? Before I open my mouth.
yeah. I just mentioned the cover we're working on.
Okay, all right. It was like, let me make sure I don't put my foot in my mouth.
I
So
didn't say
yeah,
what it
so
was, but I said we're working on
yes,
another
thank
cover.
you. All right. So yes, so even though we've got the one coming out with
Azure,
Ray,
yeah.
with Ray, Marat and I are also working on the cover for my logo, and his logo. So and I sent him the layout for it, and Marat came back, and it definitely takes some fresh eyes sometimes,
Exactly.
because you sat there and you spend an hour, 2 hours working on this. You kind of get locked into it, and you don't want to just go to hell with it, and so you sent me back that redesign of that same similar setup, and I was like, oh hell yeah, that's way more impactful.
Dude, I do it all the time. Like guys I mentioned during this conversation, Sajad, Adalso, Ryan Kincaid. I show them my stuff all the time. You know, and they'll give me feedback.
Yeah,
I'm not looking. Yeah, you always want people go, "This is awesome," but
right,
they'll give me like, "This is off," or "This is off," or like
yeah,
that's, you know, I Ryan Kincaid's wife Shannon. Ryan will be like,
yeah.
"Something's off," but I can't tell what it is, and he'll call Shannon over, and then Shannon will message me. She's like, "You got to move this, and you got to do this," and her shoulders off, and I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, Shannon's hardcore." Like, but you know what? At the end of the day, she had she saw something that I couldn't see, and if
Yeah,
I can
that's
fix
how
it and
you
make it
grow.
better, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because you remember when I sent you the cover design for the one you and I are working on. I sent it to you, and I believe I put in the comments like, "Here's what I'm thinking. I'm not 100% sure on it yet," and that's because there was something about it that was bugging me,
yeah.
and I couldn't figure out what it was, and then you sent that back. I was like, "Oh shit, okay, that's what it is. That's what it's not. It's just not being as impactful as it should. It's not being as dynamic as it should."
Yep.
And it was just something that clean, just something that then you slap your hand and go, oh, duh,
Yep.
it's amazing what a fresh eyes will do. There's no
Oh,
doubt.
yeah, totally, totally.
The Kincaid. Oh yeah, Kincaid's a great artist. Somebody's
Yeah,
somebody's drawing sexy women.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Kincaid does great work, and Ebass is just
Yeah.
Holy Jesus, that's on such a whole different level.
No,
Um,
he's so good.
dude, I went
He'll send me layouts, and you're like, which one? And I'm like, of them?
all
Like,
of them. Look, let's just line them up. This is this cover. This is this cover.
yep.
Let's just create a train and just roll through all of them.
Yes.
I actually got with Ebass not too long ago, and I sent him a message that, hey man, I've met you a couple times, and I love your work, and I want to get a commission from you. And he's like, oh, okay, all right, well, what you got in mind? He was very kind of normal about it because he 100% just knew it was going to be a female order. And I
Yeah.
went, I want you to do the bat who laughs. And he went, wait, what? He was like, are you serious? I was like, yes, I want you to do a bat who laughs. And the only thing I'm going to ask of you is make him creepy as hell and think full blown horror movie. And that was all the direction I gave because it's freaking Ebass,
Yeah.
and holy hell, dude,
Well,
he had it done within like 3 days.
it's because he wanted to draw it. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
like when people like right now, I have to close down my commission list just because I have so much work,
Yeah.
and it's hard like juggling like drawing books and covers and being a publisher and
Yep.
going to the printer and picking books up and doing some of the shipping. So it's just like there's too much. I was like, all right, I have to um uh you know stop my commission list for a while because I don't like keeping people waiting for 6 months, 9 months.
Right.
Um and then but when somebody reaches out and they're like, oh, I want a commission of like something I want to draw, I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't, but I actually really want to draw this. So,
Yep.
you know, um, so that's the whole thing too. Yes, he gets asked to draw women all the time, females all
Yeah.
the time. So you actually gave him something that's not a female. So he's like, oh, this is awesome. Like we all want to do what we want to do, but
Yeah.
sometimes, we can't. So when we get an opportunity to do it and get paid for it, we're like, oh, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I
awesome.
was not. I was not expecting. Like I figured, 6 months from now he'll be done. 3 months, something like that. Dude, I mean, he must have got straight off of Messenger and rolled right over to the desk and went to work because
Yeah,
it was like 3 days later he was done and it was in the mail. And I was like,
draw it.
wow. But anyway, so I like I said, I know you're like insanely busy, man. And again, I definitely want to make sure I tell you thank you so much for letting me do the cover with Ray, and thank you so much for letting me do this next cover with you also. Um,
Good fun,
you
buddy.
know, I followed these books for a while, and I love the playfulness of the covers and the stuff that has been done with them. I love homage covers in general, even though sometimes in the regular market it can be a little overflooded with certain ones, but
Yeah.
I like seeing the playful stuff. I mean, yeah, I see so much of the high detail, like not high detail, but the serious style art that it's kind of fun to see the playful stuff. But yeah, man, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity and letting me do those covers
Oh,
for you.
my pleasure, buddy. My pleasure. They're great. I can't wait for people to see them and hold them in their little hands and you know,
Yeah,
good
we'll
time.
make sure the anger knots show up and show out for that book. That's for sure. And again, man, dude, I've chatted with you a few times in Messenger and stuff like that. You've always been a pleasure. You've always answered questions, when I've had them. And thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. I damn sure appreciate that also.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy.
Sure will.
We'll
And
do it
guys,
again.
thank you for everyone who tuned in. I'll make sure after this is over, I'll get Marat's links onto the video also for his pages and things like that. So I'll have those links for you guys here shortly. And Marat, I'll chat with you in just a second after we get off here. But thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. Marat, do you want to give out any shout outs or anything to any projects you got coming up that you can kind of speak of or?
Oh, we got a lot of stuff coming out. We got a new Naughty and Nice Kickstarter that we're going to be launching towards the end of the month. Uh,
Nice.
uh, we got like I said, I got Pray for Sinners coming back tomorrow on Clan McDonald Comics. We're going to be making an announcement about a crossover that leads back into the relaunch. And got my baby Blindside that I'm working on with Adalso Corona. And new book coming in April. It's a new Pooh book called All Out Pooh. So
Oh
that's
Lord.
coming in April. And got a amazing Naughty and Nice set that's coming in mid-April. So April's going to be a big month. That's going to blow people away. It's a set of 10 artists, and I'm going to list them off, and you guys are going to lose your stuff. Ebas,
Oh,
DeBalto, Kincaid, uh,
nice.
Elias Chadzudis. I believe that's how you say it. Chadzudis, Alex Kotkin, Sajad Adalso, myself, Ali Garza, and up and coming young lady Marissa Pope. She's
Nice.
actually DeBalto's protege. So,
Nice.
and it's a Naughty and Nice cosplay set that is absolutely going to blow you guys away. And one more thing, next Friday I have a new cover with Nate Zerdy that's going to blow your freaking minds. So Friday the 19th, holy crap, he sent it to me today. I stared at it for like 30 minutes. So
Nice.
he's so
And
good.
that'll be Friday night. You guys will reveal it Friday.
Well, next Friday.
Oh, next
This
Friday.
Friday,
Okay.
this Friday, I got a lot of stuff happening. This Friday, Clan McDonald Comics, we're gonna
Oh, that's right.
announce
Yeah.
the big crossover. And next Friday, we're gonna drop the next Naughty and Nice cover with Zerdy.
Nice. Well, there you go, guys. You heard it straight there. So make sure, damn sure, make sure if you're not there in Clan McDonald to support Marat, please go over there, join their group and stuff. Make sure you follow him on Facebook and all his social media outlets. Guys, again, make sure you're supporting these indie creators, man. All the big companies, that's wonderful, but like I keep telling you guys, indies, in my opinion, is a major player in this game now. These guys are putting out beautiful covers, beautiful ideas and work. So make sure you show them love. If you can't do it financially, damn sure make sure you're doing it with the shares, the likes, and the comments. It does not cost you anything to do that. So show the love. But you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you again, Marat, for being
Take care,
here.
guys. Thanks for having
And
me,
we will
brother.
see you guys next time. So be good.
Later.